Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with another episode of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice. Okay, last episode ended in a crash. I know what crashed it, basically. Sometimes when effects are being put into place, I'm trying, because I quite honestly don't know all the details, but it'll zero out or go to negative available ICs briefly. Now, normally you notice this up here, and these will go red. And you pause the game, you click on, well, what's wrong with this? Why don't I have any ICs? And you click on this and it crashes. Now I happen to have this open when the effect happened, so I saw it for once and all of these went red and it crashed. So keep that in mind. So I went back and replayed things. So we might have a few events happen again just because the way events happen in Fire. So I'm going to save this again here just to be sure. And we're going to continue playing. I'm going to slow it down just 0.1 there. So keep it going pretty quick. And yes, like I said, you'll notice that we went through and discussed these. I haven't done that one for this playthrough. We're finishing the Autobahn. Haven't done that one. Yes, the Gustloff murder. Himalayan expedition. Haven't done that one yet. Air bases. And units at the Third Reich. Okay. So. And as you can see, these are all here. Well, I don't know if I should have done them in this order, so I think I want the others. So I guess the message is be wary if you continue to just have the game flow along with the production screen open. And if things go to 0, don't try to look at it. Okay. Now, Hans von Ohain and what's this other no, not Hankel. And Han spelled differently, and that is his workmate. This is Hans von Ohain. They're developers of the early jet engines for Germany here. Heikel, this is one of the original ones built basically, in a garage or shed. You see the jet engine is where we're used to seeing them much longer. That was a a round thing. Early prototypes. So Ernst Heikel takes an interest and wants to support development, shall we say. Obviously things have changed in Hearts of Iron 4, and we will be continuing to compare 4 to 3 as we play this, just because it's a natural thing to do. I do like the leadership element. Officers, yeah, generally speaking, they're better educated people, but that doesn't mean that they're technical people. Now, since we also are putting in mixing some of this into strategy and tactics, officers spending time, doing research and tactics, or are they in the field? I don't know. diplomacy. This is sort of a mushy thing. I would like to separate out diplomacy, and I'd even separate out officers and just have a certain amount of research. Maybe separate out doctrines from the others, meaning, yeah, I don't know. But I like the concept, and I'm like the concept that this works at. But it's not just talented people like Hans here coming up with a jet engine. It's resources. Do you build one jet engine in a shed as he gets the money to do so, or do you have somebody like Heinkel go, hey, yeah, build 6 different prototypes and see which one works the best? And how much resources do you throw at the project? So this is a chance. You can't, because if you get instant jet engines if you spend enough resources or something. We don't want to do that, because sometimes you can throw resources at a project and you don't progress anymore. So you can do big, do basic, or too far in the future you don't want to worry about it. We're going to do basic as sort of what I looked at as sort of historical. That costs a lot more for only a little bit more development. I think this is the best cost benefit of it. Okay. The Berliner Illustrated Zeitung, basically illustrated magazine, covering the Winter Sports Olympics and Gustav's funeral in Berlin. So should have fired a little before this, I think. And the Hindenburg. I think Zeppelins are cool. Big, huge things up in the sky, as big as ocean liners or whatever. Just cool. This is the new Hindenburg. It's completed. So you can just do that, or you can take a look inside and you get some color photos. Sort of observation room, dining rooms, the other ops there, map. So and okay, national highways, yes. And Sino-German cooperation, do we want to continue it? Yes. This is generally a good thing. You get more rare materials, which will help us out. And yes, we want the Wehrmacht Einsatz. Ersatz, not Einsatz, Ersatz division, sorry. Wehrmacht Ersatz division. These are basically training divisions, not meant for the front line. They're part of Third Reich events. Sort of garrison type troops. So yes, we want them. And towards the sun, der Sonnenentaggen. This was a multi-ship cruise. What is it? The St. Louis, the Deutsche Oceana, and Sarah Calabria carried 4,000 workers out to to the tropical island of Madeira. That's I think these, one of them. So this was, we talked earlier about how Hitler very much, worked at compromising with the people. Well, this was part of, the benefits of supporting Nazism, something that was largely unheard of at the time. Soviet workers weren't given special holidays like this that were government organized at all. In most of the democracies, the governments weren't setting up these holidays. Obviously, workers in Britain or America, if they could afford it, they got a holiday. They had to pay for it. I don't know how much. I don't know that these were at all really paid for, but they or how much you had to pay for them. But these are definitely things. Through the Strength Through Joy movement is part of the DAF, Deutsches Arbeiters Front, the German Workers Front. So they're promoting this up. So we'll lose some dissent and a little bit of money, or we can decide not to do it and gain more dissent. We're going to do it. You have your choices. We already talked about the cigarettes. Okay, the Winter Olympic Games begin. Basically, we get a small bump from diplomatic relations with all the participants, and a little bit of training bonus for some of the winter stuff, because we're training up with various experience. You can see now here this really bad negative numbers there, so don't click on now. See, they're all back. So just briefly, it's like for a 24-hour period when some of these, and I think this is related to the Sino-German agreement here that we're getting, or something that it's calculating. In some reason it goes periodically. We'll have this. So if you have your window open and something like this hits, it could be really bad, like it was end of last episode. So yes, we want the extra metal and rare materials. We'll lose some supplies and money, and definitely, obviously there's Hitler right there. That's Goring there. I think that's Goebbels. Hitler was really big into cars himself, though, as one of the viewers asked me, do I know why he never learned to drive? I don't specifically know why he never learned to drive. He was a big enthusiast of automobiles, liked to ride in the front seat instead of in the back. So his special limos were set up for him in the front seat, but even if he was riding in other cars, early on, well before he got into power, he bought a really nice Mercedes, but he never learned to drive. Now, I don't know if it was a complete, like he didn't know which is the brake and which is the gas, or just never really, driving as a proper skill or something, but he never did. But he loved automobiles, thought they were great, obviously was interested in the mechanics of them. I've done some research on Italy. It wasn't until after the Ethiopian War, and it was a big struggle going on about it, that Mussolini finally realized that he needed to motorize his army. This great majority of the Italian army was non-motorized, and I don't mean just like the divisions. I mean just there wasn't trucks for them to move much supplies around, because you got to realize, sure, there's all the division, everybody get in a truck, the whole division with all of its supplies go, for whether it's the supplies for 5 days or for 90 days, whatever it might be, go driving across into enemy territory at all an automotive situation. You have that, but the Italian army wasn't even to the idea of, I'm absolutely sure they did have some motorized units at this time, but because I'm thinking, no, it was probably more like 38 or 39 I think it was. I'm trying to remember. As you know, I'm not good on keeping the details in my head. There wasn't, large motor pools. We've looked at the NSKK, which we'll see later goes to help a lot of the motorization continue. There wasn't this even, sort of structural motorization for the Italian army, and it was figured that it was in figuring out that they needed to do much more motorization. You couldn't just do it in the army. You had to have an infrastructure that supported it, like gas stations all over Italy. You had to have gas stations everywhere, and so that so that you can fuel, and a fuel system that was set up nationwide to supply fuels. Now, you don't move a division by having every vehicle show up at a gas station and they fill up the trucks, but you need the gasoline around. You need this stuff, and you need the automotive people trained to drive, people trained to take care of cars. So Italy starts, I'm thinking now 38, 39, to really try to motorize itself nationally to support army motorization, meaning civilian motorization that would then support, maintain military motorization, that you couldn't just do it just on the military. And this is part of the reason why I've looked at the automotive industry so heavily with Germany, because it definitely affects Germany's ability to motorize its army. Now, they don't get anything like the U.S. motorization levels, but it's it's what they were working to try to do, and sort of to show this, that these auto shows show off development in automotive capabilities, and also bring in foreign automotive, so that German developers are learning. So we get some little minor, though they add up because there's more of these events, to little bonuses in research. And of course, we've talked a little bit about that. So now I want to readjust here. That's just all red because we're briefly had generally speaking, you want to keep many more supplies being produced than you need, because we pay for things in supplies, and some events, both TRE, yeah, we talked about this earlier, both TRE, Black Ice, and other things do sometimes, they very much do check for having enough supplies. Other times they fire, so you might go into the negative, but obviously gets back zeroed out there. But don't count on that. You may miss some very important things. Now, we have the SA on the map here. We have zeroed out all of its, and this is what you want to do for this version of it. All of its updating, upgrading its equipment. It's all outdated. These are okay-ish militia units, the SA, if we were to go to war early with, you know, France invading us or something. So if you're playing multiplayer and you have them, they are a good sort of, oops, France invades us early, use the SA to hold the line while you build up better army units. So they're okay for that. And basically the SA are all set up as units without support equipment. Anti-aircraft guns, artillery, whatever. They're just militia units and militia cavalry. That's basically all, and that's sort of what they were. Now what they also were doing, and you can see this is one of the few SA badges that can be worn on a military uniform. There's lots of SA type decorations that never get worn on military uniforms. The SA was used to train the German populace for war in sports. But the Olympics, the original Olympics, the Greek old Olympics, they were all basically military games. They would do, like, I don't know, 100-yard dash in armor or something. You know, there was that type of activities, wrestling, throwing javelins, which are, you know, a military weapon. A lot of that stuff in the original Olympics were military stuff. Well, that's what this is continuing to do. Now, this badge that you earn here is not exclusive. I'm pretty sure I say that here, because I don't remember what I wrote. The stuff that I write up in here, this is well researched. What I'm talking out of my head, I'm just trying to remember and look here. These badges that were issued in different grades, you didn't have to be in the SA to earn them. But everyone in the SA was encouraged to go out to try to, you know, bronze, silver, gold, to earn the badge as physical fitness and training. So this definitely helps militarize society, and that's part of the SA's function. We'll get into some more of this. The SA trains army units, so they're not just the militia on the board, but that's part of it. So we get a little bonus to training. I've come to doubt how historically correct that sign is. Eins Volk, eins Reich, eins Gar. I think that may be somebody's retroing the swastika in with the Coke. I'm starting to think that. I didn't think that when I first did it. Now this is a very period Winter Olympic advertisement for Coca-Cola in Germany for the Winter Olympics. This is a Winter Olympics Garnish Packerton or whatever. Sorry, I'm butchering it. High jumper, the ski jump there. This is very historically pin, for the Olympics by Coca-Cola. So those two items are historically correct. I'm beginning to doubt that. And we already covered this. Yes. And we've covered this, so we got that back. Yeah, I know, I've had to rebuild this stuff and it's a pain. I don't like having to do that, but I don't know what specific. Like I say, it's during a readjustment period for calculating ICs that'll go into negatives where it can't, and then if you click production, you click on the production screen. When that happens, things go bad. So yes, okay. Had to put this in. This is sort of a joke thing, though you'll see in a minute. Should we send money to the black shorts? That Hess wants to do. We'll go 9 full because this is PG Woadhouse's Worcester and Jeeves part of the series. This is the Code of the Worcesters, making fun of the BFU, the British Union of Fascists. Sends them up there, and this is the period cover of the book. That's from the TV series, and that's the Jeeves and Worcester version of the symbol, not the actual BFU. So sort of Hess is reading books and mixes them up is the idea. But yes, that doesn't do anything really. Well, if you send money, you get a negative result, but that will lead into someday more stuff for Britain. Okay, Craig's Marine Wharf, Wilhelmhaven, whatever, sorry. Do we want to reorganize it? We'll get level 2 shipyard, or no thanks with the cost. Yeah, we'll do that. This was a period thing. Let's see. So we're doing okay. We've got starting to build ships, which I don't like at the moment. Not that I don't want the ships built, but let's build down here. Yeah. Supplies for money to Brazil. Okay. Now, in my research of Philip Holzman Company, In Iran, they need a new railway station for Tehran, the capital. They ask Philip Holzmann and the German to design and build it. Do we want to help fund this thing, which will improve our relations with Iran? We're not fully taking the cost of it, but some of it. So, yep, we'll do that. That's actually the dimensions of the official Iranian flag at this time. That's why it's so big and long compared to the others. But thought that was an interesting thing that the Germans basically designed and built. They used local labor to actually build the train station, but that's no. President Bernays of Czechoslovakia. He tried his best before and after the war, though. After the war, the communists took over. So dies freedom there for Czechoslovakia. The world was just stacked against them. Okay, and as we've already seen with the radios in every house, this is the broadcasting house element of this. And the building still exists today, and I still think it's a broadcasting, but that's a pretty big building just set up for broadcasting. And they definitely, this is the Berlin one, they definitely produce shows that were rebroadcast in other parts of Germany locally as well. So and go. Not worth it. We don't need that. Again, we go red negative. We're not going to be curious and try to look at that. Now we've got these. I consider all of that industry to all this stuff to get the effects of the basic 3 starting levels of it. Britain gets 2 of those 3. I forget which 2. Entertainment and news, I think, maybe. But they have that well organized. So enemies. Okay, keep writing. So the essay were also really big into their writing. They even almost, it was not quite a separate organization, but the Ritter Corps there was definitely some sort of independent strain for the training and doing that stuff, maintaining the horses. But this is all part of maintaining Germany. Now I think they've changed this sometime after that. Yeah, cavalry is already maxed out. When I was originally doing some of this stuff, it was most, 2/3 or whatever, but it wasn't maxed out. So you don't. This is part of the essay program. Vladka. This is a means the flag. This is a Czech-based. Bit more fascist maybe than National Socialist, but yes, we'll give them some support. That could pay dividends later. And Reich Führerschule SA, that's down in Munich. These are the symbols for the school. It's a picture of the school. You'll see some older SS officers still with this. This was the patch that puts on the arm with the arrows. It's actually a rune. It's not an arrow, but the rune sort of pointing up on his shoulder. From the time when the SS was part of the SA, they continue to do that, so we'll get a little more leadership. And this, the school headquarters there, so we will attach it to the nearest Munich leadership there. And we need to readjust this because we just expanded the army a little bit so it sees it. No, I don't think we want to trade with the Soviet Union. Now, just another warning. I've already gone in and given all corps level and above leadership for the SA. If you go to war and end it pretty quickly, like just take Denmark out, you may be okay. But if war persists and you're at war before start of 1939, you're going to be stuck with this sort of full-strength SA units. Excuse me. What you want to do is, and when the SA happens, it takes 400 manpower away from you. And in the beginning of 1939, it will remove this SA, all the SA units, or basically all of them, and replace them with another set that is about half, at least for the regular battalions, half strength units. Doesn't change the strength of the mounted units, but those are pretty weak units as they are. And then gives you 340 manpower back. So you lose 60 manpower, but you end up with a lot of militia that can control things. They'll be much weaker if you try to use them after that as frontline units, because this represents shifting of the manpower from the SA into the army in 1939 and beyond. So if you delete too many of those, if you don't want those units, try to send them back to the pool. There's a check. It doesn't check that every single one of them exists, but it checks that a bunch of them exist. So if you rename them, you could reorganize them because they're based on the names here. But if enough of if any one of the ones that it checks for are gone, the second event won't fire. So you'll be stuck and you won't get the manpower back. So you'll be stuck with a bunch of SA units that aren't so hot. You want the not so hot internal security units, but you don't want these unless you get attacked. Okay, yes, the SS needs a headquarters. So we now have SS Haupt, and we put the SSVT under it. There we go. The SS is starting to go. Because before this, it was an Amt. Now it's a Hauptamt or whatever. Under Meyer there. This is the wrong leadership level for that, but who cares? So we have this is part of the army infrastructure. There's the Air Force infrastructure, the Luftwaffe. There. There's your SA infrastructure there. What I shouldn't be doing with these events, covering it there. You got your current naval infrastructure, and we're starting to build, as saying, the SS infrastructure. There were more SS units, Allgemeine SS and other SS types at this time. Okay, Auto Union Type C in 1936 gets doing racing and railway artillery design. So I want, like I said before, I'm not terribly fond of this, but because of the fortresses that they used to make up for it, we're going to do that. Some of those units, they may be necessary. And I think they are cheaper to build than if we just build them under the normal pattern. Notice because of the various infrastructure buildings finishing off the Autobahn and some of the others that have fired, we now have cheaper factories being built. That gets readjusted. I'm afraid if I hit that going fast, we'll then zip into something else. Somebody got some of our blueprints. We are currently got a bunch of spies operating here in Germany. Okay. Peru? No. Yes, Iran, very much so. Okay. Dominican Republic. Yeah. Oh, last one. Now for TRE, I've done coming up for Hearts of Iron 4. Like we will be seeing a lot of events that lead up to Germany taking over Czechoslovakia and the stuff that goes on to this. I have covered a bunch more of Germany moving in and influencing into Austria. At this time, the ambassador to Austria is Franz von Papen, the former former chancellor earlier, and then vice chancellor under Hitler. Was part of the Hindenburg government as Hindenburg is president. After Hitler comes to power, eventually he's moved out of the vice chancellery, and before this time, before 36, he gets sent to Austria. Franz von Papen is a very strong Catholic, Austria being a Catholic German country. He's a very devout Catholic, and so he's sent down to be Germany's ambassador with the mission of bringing Austria into the Reich. Okay, what fools. The Second London Naval Treaty. This is a critical, as well as with the first one, a critical thing for the war. That's Japan's medal dealing with it. It reinforces that carriers are not main fleet operating vessels, so that nations can build as many carriers as they want, but limiting battleships size. Yeah, we want to do that in Italy. And we've already lost that. Okay, well. Well. I think this is just the best, because as soon as I hit this, go up one more, it just immediately jumps to the next event, and it goes too fast. Okay. Reichstag Wall, 1936. So this would be the Reichstag, the parliament, if you will. Elections in March. You can read the details there. if you can see this is the ballot. Do you vote for Hitler and then these sub people? You didn't really have a non vote for Hitler option, as you can see here, and they knew if you didn't vote, and that was one of the things that people who didn't vote were noted, and this was some of the particularly the Catholic Church, though some elements of the Protestant Church, some of the prelates were some of the various voting things, and there was serious conflict about some of this going on. Okay, we've lost our high popularity. Diplomatic reporter, Diplomatic Services reported that the 30th of April 1936, National Assembly of Czechoslovakia passed a law on national defense. This will mean that they are increasing their ability to defend their nation. Now, this is all we see. This is just an informational event for us, but that event fired, they originally fired in the Czechoslovakia got a version that gave it some research bonuses and other things, but these were big research bonuses that should pop them up to the next level of capability. So Czechs just got a bit stronger. Money for fuel, no. I don't plan on buying fuel, not at this point. So, yeah, lots of things happen that we don't see. Okay, this is all part of other events. Well, ordering the Prince Eugen. Well, this is part of TRE. So we can order that, lay it down, put it in a production and lose some metal, or no need. We'll go for that. And this, this is let's go for the full divisions. You can either pause here or read various talking about the different squadrons. And nice photos, I like those. You see that. I think these are very accurate photos for the period of the aircraft. Now, so let's reorganize this a bit. So we have the Prince Eugen. And we're just leaving these down on the bottom for now. Yeah, I think, okay. Forward, back to medium popularity. The dance show. Thought this was interesting. Some of the entertainment going on during the Winter Olympics. This should be the second one. When I redid this for when I did this was one of the early sets of events that I made. They fire on the dates, or set up to fire on the dates that they happened. So, it's happened over like a week's period of time. And so they're supposed to fire, in order, but it doesn't work so well. And then the version for 4, it just like you hit yes, boom, and the next event, like some of the other event changed. So I did that. I think it works better. Sonia Henning, I like a lot of her movies. She eventually, she's Norwegian. She eventually moves to The U.S., is that a Nazi salute or is that an Olympic salute? They were very similar. Probably was a Nazi salute. I don't think she was a Nazi. I think she was a foreigner who, knew what Nazis were, but not quite, if you know what I mean, and sort of did this and bit of a stir. But she definitely comes to America and definitely doesn't, at least through all the rest of her life, show any Nazi tendencies, and definitely she makes some movies after the Nazis take, Germany invades Norway. It's very anti-Quisling, so I wouldn't put her down as a Nazi. I would put her down as a sort of a conformist thing, but it sort of makes the news and on the newsreels, that kind of thing. Because she's actually doing that salute that you see here to Hitler, who's up in the box watching it. That's what sort of pushes it over in my mind that it's a Nazi salute. And not just because they had, prior to the Nazis, did this sort of raised arm, not quite the same, hard to distinguish between the two, but thing. But she sort of, that's a still taken from the film of it, and she's doing her routine. The routines, she comes to the end of the stop of the routine facing Hitler and does that salute. And so doing that whole thing, it's a Nazi salute in my mind. If you take that in the context of it, but she does win a gold medal or two or whatever it is there. But so, and then she goes up and shakes hands with Hitler. So doing it to Hitler and whatever, so I take it as a Nazi thing. But I take it more as just a conformity thing than any real belief in that. But you also got to realize too that, what is the newspapers, and I don't know, were saying in Norway, if you look at, and we've talked about this before, like the Nazis' environmental program, we can talk about the Nazis cleaning up of sort of the slums or the ghettos in Germany that had been hugely overpopulated in these apartment buildings with huge, 6 or more people living to a room, in apartments there. That buildings still, some of them were bombed out, of course, but some of them still exist today, and they existed during the Nazi period. But what they did was they got the excess population out of there. They plumbed it, put plumbing in for much better occupancy, because some of these things you would have like one sort of outhouse out and back for the whole building. It was god awful, some of these stuff. The Nazis genuinely went into these areas, cleaned them up. They did building programs to build sort of suburbs around towns with nice clean housing. If you look at the good, that, if you will, now a lot of the good was state enforced, which I'm not for, but a lot of the good that they did do does in no way outweighs or no way makes all the evil they did okay. It's just, you have to acknowledge, the sort of simple thing is Nazis made highways. Highways are good. We like Nazi highways because they were trying to do good there. That doesn't mean we like Nazis. And I have to say this stuff because sometimes people will jump into one of these episodes and don't know the totality. In no way does that make Nazis okay. But what people were hearing about the Nazis, that they were, anti-communist, anti-revolutionary, they were bringing economic stability to Germany, they were, cleaning up communities, they were cleaning up the environment. Looked from the outside, the Hitler Youth sort of looks like a scouting movement. We can talk more about this later. It was no such thing. I mean, obviously there was outdoor activities and warfare training, but it was very anti-Boy Scouts in its sole viewpoint. Boy Scouts were very much of a Christian organization. But you could look at it, from the outside, the Nazis could be, not your thing, but not the word, in 1936. You got to remember, this is 1936. This isn't 1940, 1941, or some other, and we're going to talk about some of the progressions and the way things change. This is sort of 36, had Sonia Henning visited Germany before this time period? Because definitely around the Olympics, I know much more about the Summer Olympics, but they they got rid of all the Jews don't go here signs. It was in order, remove them from all the buildings so that the foreign visitors you don't care. And they were all instructed, you don't, whether they are Jewish, you don't even ask, you don't care. You treat all the foreign visitors really good, and you remove all the Jews not welcome signs around Berlin at least, and other parts of Germany where for high tourism. So they showed a pleasant face to the world for the Summer Olympics. I think it was a much smaller scale for the Winter Olympics. But if you're just seeing that, you're not seeing the ugly side of the Nazis. And you think, oh, well, they beat up communists in the street. Well, communists are bad people, so yeah, okay, let's beat up the communists in the street, because communists were beating up other people. They were starting violence too. It wasn't just, they weren't being peaceful, and then the Nazis came along. No, they were being violent, and the Nazis were being violent. They were violent with each other. So, so you can see that, the Nazis don't seem that bad. So that's how at that time, from a foreigner's perspective, so that's how I look at Sonia Henning salute, but it's still controversial, and I had to show it. And the closing ceremony talks about some of the stuff there. So, and again, we're at the red stuff, so we don't want to let time progress. And it's back here. Okay. High popularity. Got back. Good. Okay, this is some of the stuff. The Reich colonial boon. You lose money. You get many payments. Political feud. Okay, so we lose some leadership. Yeah, I don't like these political events. Just not sure what to do with this. Let's see, the Reich Colonial Bund, or Reich Colonial League, was formed in 1936, but its role was to organize plans for occupying German colonies lost in the Great War and new colonies. The organization managed French Belgian colonies. Like I've said before in earlier episodes, I'm a bit conflicted with this event. All these were made because I haven't played with this. But I played through 1936 or most in 36 before, but I don't know what's going on past this. But these events were done after I really stopped doing Tanganyika, so I think I just sort of want to see what these are. Money, okay, until June 36, so yeah, it's a lot of money, negative money. 50%, man, that's going to be a big hit. I want to see what these events give us. Mostly out of curiosity, and so for you, the viewer, we don't want to buy fuel, can then judge for your playthroughs what you want to do. Okay, Motorsportschulen des NSKK. This is a picture of one of these schools. It's pretty big. These are the garages. That's their motor pool for it. The NSKK runs a 6-week driving and mechanics course at its 23 major sports schools. Many members of the motorization section of the Hitler Youth, the Motor HJ, have graduated from these schools. So these schools were definitely for NSKK members. There's like a school staff photo up there. Can't see too well, but get the idea. So they trained the NSKK. They trained like the Hitler Youth. And I believe, I know that some of these schools were also training soldiers, because there weren't enough soldiers with training skill levels to train drivers, truck drivers, for the Army, as well as other drivers. So this is an important part of our training for the stuff. So we can do big increase or continue training. Just as a general rule, and you're getting spoilers from watching it, The big increases, as you can see here, are an increase, but don't know that it's really worth it. You'll get the training base either way, so we're just going to go continue training. Der Deutsches Police, Polizeiblatt, whatever. Sorry, I'm butchering the German. We have a lot of nice German viewers. I'm butchering your language. This was a German police magazine, say monthly or weekly. Germany in 1933 was a god-awful patchwork of different states, and they weren't states like the United States that had some rhyme or reason. They were left over from the Holy Roman Empire and such. So you might get Prussia might have a bit of no, just this little corner of this province or whatever, or something, you know, or some little town somewhere. And so it was just, you know, strange patchworks in different places. So with the coming to power of the Nazis, Germany gets reorganized. The language gets, over time, more centralized. The governments get more rationalized. Some of these little freaky province-type control things that belong to some of the get rationalized over time. Well, this is part of the German police's rationalization, because it's as patchworky as all hell. The Gestapo, which is sort of, though it gets changed to sort of Gestapo, but the Gestapo was originally not part of the SS. It was under Göring because it was the sort of intelligence arm of the Prussian police. Himmler eventually becomes in charge of all of the police, so it gets transferred from, and Göring was president of Prussia. I think it was the term president, but whatever, of Prussia, not of Germany, just of the Prussia. So he was in charge of the Gestapo, but as all the police gets put under the SS in stages, the Gestapo gets put under Himmler and becomes part of the SS, where not all of the police get under Himmler, but not all the SS is part of the police. But this is sort of this is the police periodical. So we get military police gain and partisan suppression gain by the training magazines. Reich. I'm not even going to try to pronounce all of that out. Okay, this building was described as typical style National Socialism in architecture. So we need, this is going to be the big Reich ministry, or whatever you want to call it. Chancellery, not quite the chancellery, but okay. So yes, we have to do this. I'm forcing you to do this, and here is the rare crest one. So we'll get manpower bonuses. This is from, I believe, units of the Third Reich. Sorry if I'm getting some of that wrong. So yep, it's worth that. We want to do this. The manpower, the more training officers. We need to gain in officers. Well, I think at this point we'll end the episode here. I want to thank all of you for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. It does help. Please post your questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, or also corrections, because again, when I do research and I put it in writing on the event, it's as solid as I can make it. I'm very much doing that. When I'm just talking off the top of my head. So if you got corrections or further information, you want to post it below. Now, if you post links to other places, YouTube, just as sort of a warning, highlights that as spam, and I have to go in and approve it. I wish I could approve some of you guys by name in advance, because a bunch of you, the regulars here, sometimes I get stuff that shows up like instant after it, that awesome video, dude, check out mine, and there's a link in it. And no, my videos aren't awesome and whatever. It's just another person trying to get promotion out of it. Generally, if there's links in that spam, I don't put it. I don't approve it. Some of the stuff I'm just not sure whether it's spam. I think it is, but it's harmless, so I let it go through. But they sort of presume it's sort of this bot spam, or someone just sitting there cutting and pasting and clicking on stuff just to get promotion. So it sort of does it. So if I don't get to it right away, and it's not showing up, please understand that I want to approve all of your real links. So long as, and all of you longtime viewers, you're all doing great. I'm just saying that as a blanket statement. All of you guys are doing great in posting good, informative stuff. I do have to sort of kind of worry about people spreading neo-Nazi, or should I say Nazi propaganda out there. Long time ago, I jumped on someone maybe a bit harshly, sort of talking about Strasserism, which is a subgroup of Nazism, but at least post-war Strasserism tried to get away from anti-Semitism to some degree, and was looking to be a bit more of a economic fascism, if you will, to some degree, than a Nazism. And maybe I jumped on that guy a little harshly, but I am a bit oversensitive because I'm very happy in talking about and having you guys talk about National Socialism, Nazism, in an academic sense. It just, and you may go, well, what do you think about X's website or link or article? Some stuff can get a little iffy, and trust me, because I look for images, I look for stuff. I've gone down some very weird rabbit holes of weird modern Nazi stuff, looking for historical images, looking for some historical facts within the stuff, but a lot of it just weird hate, violence, promotion, and I just don't approve of that. So I'm just always on guard against, and again, all of you regulars, you're all doing great, but just I don't know who's going to show up tomorrow, because we do talk about these subjects. I have no use for Nazis. Nationalists are not Nazis. Now, in the new Antifa, as somebody, anti-fascist, but the Antifa, as someone sort of coined, or maybe a few people did, Antifa can also stand for Anti-First Amendment. They're basically either your, if you look at sort of the, square, right, left, up and down for the amount of law and order versus, liberty kind of scale, Venn diagram, or whatever you want to call it, thing. Up in the corner is Antifa. Everything else are fascists, So the non-Antifa Democrats are fascists, So they're just calling everything else fascist. So the post-World War II, you can go, everything is, right-wing is fascist. Every state control is fascist, and if you're using fascism in the most broadest sense, yeah. But nationalism isn't fascism. It definitely isn't National Socialism. So I'm tolerant of right-wing ideologies. They're not necessarily mine. I think you can tell that I very much promote freedom. But there's a big difference between being, hey, yeah, the Kaiser's great and we want good German order and whatever, sort of the German National Party of this time period that's basically going, or more or less gone away by 1936. but of Hindenburg and a lot of those guys, which are fairly right-wing ideologies, with or without the Kaiser coming in. That's one thing. And again, I'm not necessarily agreeing with it or thinking it's the best way of doing whatever. But okay, if you want to hold those views honestly and intellectually, okay, fine. Again, they're not my views, but they're fine, and then they're not like within the normal bounds of American politics. But okay, you for your country and your views, because they don't necessarily have to be German. But if you move into and it isn't just anti-Semitism, not liking Jews, but the racism, the racist religion, the whole stuff. If you're a Nazi, I just don't have any use for you. I'm sorry. The death camps alone should just go. The people that hold those views are just unacceptable, and that's where ultimately it leads to. And so, if you have those views, you want to keep quiet about it and don't tell anybody about it and watch this series, okay, nothing I can do about it. But this is sort of what I worry about, is people getting in and promoting those things up. I do have corresponded with some of you guys out there, like I say, are nationalists, and and whereas between patriotism and nationalism versus just sort of like, hey, I'm Norwegian versus Norwegian Nationalist Party or something, where does all those lines? So I don't dislike you or not think you have a valid belief system. Like again, saying it's not mine, but okay, I'm willing to talk with you. But if you really are a Nazi, I have no use for you. If you're promoting this stuff up, and that's sort of, I like I say, I'm a bit oversensitive, especially about links. So I'm just worried about some of those people showing up and posting links, but I can't, so I gotta do all the checking the links before, if you post them in the things. But what I would want to say is, like, if you've got to, like, most Wikipedia articles I think are safe enough. You got a Wikipedia article on the Bauhaus movement, which is sort of the architectural movement or something you want to post a link to. Yeah, great, do so. It helps the series out, and I really appreciate that. So, a little long-winded, but I wanted to talk to a lot of you who are regulars here, plus new people, about my just sort of general policy on that. And so, academic, intellectual stuff, fine. Stuff that promotes Nazism, and where do we draw the line? Well, ultimately it's going to be me as to what links go up on there, and I do check. So that's it. Again, thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.